Chelsea. I think what happened with Chelsea, I don't want to overreact here. I think what happened with Chelsea is what happened with Arsenal the week that Arsenal had to play Chelsea. I think Leeds were to Chelsea what Chelsea were to Arsenal. You know, when you have three games that are kind of like within a 7 day stretch, all these games are high intensity. And then the last game you play is against, like, Leeds in this case, who are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their Premier League lives. And Daniel Farke is at risk of getting the sack. So I understand, like, Leeds' role in the game, and Leeds played well. I don't think Chelsea were bad. I just think there's just so much football. You're playing every 3 days. They had a good result against Barcelona, and I think they had a bit more of an advantage in the Barca and especially Arsenal game, because the week before they had played an easier opponent in Burnley. All respect to Burnley, they were an easier opponent. So, like, at the beginning of what would be an exciting week, and so they peaked against Arsenal, and then and the manager had to make changes, and I respect that he did. He said straight after the Arsenal game that Reece James wouldn't play against Leeds because they have to manage him. So he did what he could, and he had good enough players to win that game. But I think Chelsea suffered from having played Barca, even though it was 10 men, and then Arsenal. That's two highly emotional games and physically demanding games. And so when you go away to Leeds and they are up for it, and Chelsea and Leeds, there's no love lost between those two teams. They don't like each other. It's a well-known fact. And so, Leeds did what they needed to do. They made the game into a spectacle. They let Chelsea have the ball. A lot of it was game state, but, like, Leeds made sure that they protected their goal. Like, they gave away less than 1 XG. They had a 2.79 XG. And Chelsea had 71% ball possession. Doesn't matter when the other team scores 3 and you score 1. So Leeds, they made themselves so hard to beat. They set up in what looked like a 3-5-2. And, Straub, Bihal, and Joe Rodon. And then you had Ampadu Tanaka, who scored a brilliant goal to give Leeds a 2-goal lead. And then they start with Mecha and Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin, he's finding fitness, and Leeds is kind of a perfect team, to be honest, for a guy like him, because, he's going to get a lot more looks in terms of, like, opportunities to play. He needs to feel loved. He's had quite a rough go with injuries, and then Everton were trying to also kind of, like, go beyond his level of talent in terms of, like, the talents they were buying. They didn't always buy well, but they were quite ambitious. Whereas Leeds are in a perfect part of their journey for him to be useful to them for now, and see if he can, resurrect his professional career in the top flight in England. And he gets a goal as well, error by Chelsea. I don't know what Tosin was trying to do, but it looks like he's trying to play a back pass. He's given a bad ball to begin with. Like, sometimes this playing out from the back is for me, is a bit much, with a lot of these teams always trying to do that, rather than sometimes you just gotta hit it long sometimes and live with the coach yelling at you at halftime or something like that. But, like, sometimes you just really have to protect your goal and kick the ball long. And so that was a high scoring game that I didn't expect. Another high scoring game was on Tuesday. Manchester City 5, Fulham 4. This game is a hard one to read, because City were 5-1 up at one point, and then they were running away with the game, and it looked like it was done, and everybody was talking that way. And Pep, fair play to him, he was humorous in his post-match conference as well. Like, he was like, at 5-1, no one would have seen the game that was to come after that. All of you were probably writing your articles, Manchester City are back. And then by the 90th minute, you having to throw that draft into the garbage, because the game had changed so much. And Fulham, crazy enough, they finished the game with more of the ball than City. And City, 43% possession, but they had better XG than Fulham. But Fulham's were able to make a game out of this. Fair play to Chukwueze.